Hey, it's Tucker Kelly here from Mizpah Farms, and in this video I'm going to be showing you step by step and cut by cut how to make one of these duck and goose tractors. They're really nice. They're about 6 feet tall, about 8 feet long, and about 6 feet wide, so they're big enough that I can get in there without hitting my head every time. Big enough for about 8 geese and 10 ducks to sleep in it comfortably overnight. Obviously I'll let them out during the day, and it's a pretty good tractor. Cut 2 boards at 8 feet long. I am using rough cut 2x3s. You could also use 4x4 posts or landscape timber. Then lay them on the ground like this. Cut 2 2x4s at 6 feet long and lay them on top like this. Now it's time to attach them together. I'm pre-drilling with an 1/8 of an inch bit to keep it from cracking and attaching with 4 T25 2.5 inch screws. I like T25s best because they strip out less than Phillips head screws. Now it's time to make the knee wall. Cut 4 2x4s at 22.5 inches. Then pre-drill and screw them in on the corners. I am using the same T25s and I am toenailing them in because that's the best way to fit them in such a small space. Using a tape measure, mark feet 2, 4, and 6. These will be the center for the next boards we cut. Cut 6 2x4s at 24 inches. Then place the boards in the correct places and pre-drill and screw in with 4 T25s in the toenail fashion again. Cut 2 pieces of plywood at 26 inches by 8 feet. I find it easiest to cut plywood if I screw it to the sawhorse first. Clamp the plywood to the knee wall and use a tape measure to make sure everything's lined up. Feet 2, 4, and 6 should be in the center of the 2x4s, and 0 and 8 feet should be at the ends. I'm attaching the plywood with 1 1/4 inch drywall screws. They are Phillips head and I'm using as many as I need. If your plywood's not long enough, just simply add a patch to one end. Now it's time to make the Ridgefall assembly. Cut 2 boards at 6 feet long and 1 board at 8 feet long. Then lay them down with the 8-foot board on top and the 2 6-foot boards on bottom. For attaching them together, I am pre-drilling with the 1/8 of an inch bit. Then I am attaching it with the T25, so I'm doing 2 on each side. Then I'll need to turn the board over and do it on the other side. I'm also putting them on both ends. And you can go ahead and add as many extra screws as you need to make it extra strong, depending on how well the screws grab. Then carry the whole assembly over, putting the 6-foot uprights right at the dead center of the 6-foot on top of the skids. Then I'm pre-drilling it and attaching it with 4 of the T25s, and I can always use more to get a better grip. Now it's time to make the braces. Cut 3 boards at 31 3/4 inches. Only put 1 on the door end, leaving 1 place open for the door. I'm pre-drilling it and then attaching with 2 T25s, toenailing them in, and I'm putting 1 on top and 1 on bottom. Then on the other side, I'm just pre-drilling and screwing straight through the 6-foot upright. On the opposite side, I'm using 2 boards, and 1 I can attach in the exact same way. The other will need toenailed in on both sides. Now it's time to make the angle braces. I'm cutting them at a 45-degree angle, and I'm making 2 that are 14.5 inches from long end to long end, and cut 10 that are 13 inches from long end to long end. I'm attaching the 2 larger braces between the knee wall and the 31 3/4 brace on the non-door side. Those need to be longer so I can fit the handle in. I'm pre-drilling and attaching it with the T25s to the knee wall and to the 31 3/4 that you can't see. On the non-door side, attach 6 of the 13-inch braces like this. I'm pre-drilling and screwing in exactly the same as I did on the previous 2. Then go to the door end and attach 4 of the 13-inch ones like this. I'm pre-drilling and screwing in exactly the same as I did on all of the other ones. Now it's time to mark the rafters. You're going to need to use 2x4s that are at least 6 foot long, and I like to have someone hold it while I mark the cut on top and mark out the notch on the knee wall. These are patterns for the rafters, and I would recommend making a different pattern for each side because it's likely not to be square, especially if you're using bent 2x4s like I am. I'm cutting the line we made on top of the rafter with the skill saw, and it's about a 55-degree angle. Then I am cutting the notch we marked with a jigsaw. Then take the block we cut off the top and measure 67 inches down, place the block there and mark it. That will be our cut on the bottom to keep us from having ridiculous looking rafter tails. And I find it's way quicker to cut if I screw it into the knee wall first when I'm cutting it. Then I'm cutting on the line we just made, and I'm using the skill saw once again. Now this cut definitely doesn't need to be perfect since it's just cutting off the rafter tail. Make sure that the patterns fit before using them and making a ton more cuts. Then place one of the patterns on top of a 2x4 and mark it with your pencil so you know where to cut. You will need to have 5 rafters for each side of the house. And I am pre-drilling and attaching with 2 T25s on top. Then I am pre-drilling and attaching with 2 T25s on bottom. You can also put them in countersink fashion, and if your boards are thicker, you may need to do 2 in the countersink way. The rafters go on feet 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and as you can see, it goes much quicker if you have someone helping. When you're doing the second side of rafters, you're going to need to toenail them in on both ends. Now I'm attaching the hardware cloth. I'm using a pneumatic stapler because it's way quicker and I like to have someone hold it, which makes it easier as well. I could use chicken wire, but it's less predator proof. Then cut off the extra with a pair of snips. Since I'm using 4-foot hardware cloth, I need to attach a 2-foot patch on top, and I'm stapling that in with a pneumatic stapler as well. Where the 4-foot section and the patch meet, I'm twisting it together with pieces of wire. Now on the door end, I'm only putting it on the side with the braces, and I'm doing it vertically so as to leave the door hole open for the door. For the rest of this build, please watch part 2. I will leave a link in the description below, and I will cover the entire rest of building it as well as moving the duckies out.